Hello everybody, this is Inan signing in with a special video on the paper of English Précis and Composition for comparative examinations. I am serving as a lecturer in English in federal government colleges. I hold degrees in English literature, law and international relations with a postgraduate certification in literary linguistics and a professional advancement in TESOL methodology from University of Maryland, USA. I have been taking classes of English Essay and Précis for CSS aspirants in several campuses of Kips for more than half a decade. Today's session is targeted to address a few basic issues and to give a kind of an overview about the paper of English Précis and Composition for thousands of CSS aspirants across the country who cannot access us directly. English Précis and Composition became even more significant after the revision of the syllabus since 2015. The examiner's report of 2016 had a sentence which I, as a student of English language, had been continuously thinking about. This examiner's report mentioned that in most of the papers there was first language interference. First language interference is perhaps the most important area which we need to address when we are addressing the paper of English Précis and Composition. We need to understand that English has been taught in Pakistan as a second language. However, English for most of us is not even a second language, it is a foreign language. And most importantly, in most of the comparative examinations, English is tested as a first language. It is more like a test of our first language competence. This makes English a major challenge, especially in papers like English Précis and Composition, which are quite technical in approach and which requires first-hand skills for most of the questions. We also need to understand that English Précis and Composition must not be taken in isolation as a single specific subject or a specific paper. Most of your papers, at times all your papers, depend on your English language skills. And we need to understand that communication is the key in this age of lingua franca, where English dominates and dictates the academic circles all over the world across the globe. So you don't need to take it as another subject. You need to take it as a language, and it will reduce the burden from your shoulders. It is just like another language as Urdu is, or as Punjabi is, or as Pashto is. You cannot dedicate a month and you can say that English language or English Précis and Composition's entire paper is covered. So you need to take some time, and you have to understand that your attitude towards English language would determine your altitude in the examination of CSS. So you need to take time, you need to relax, because learning English cannot be rushed. You need to practice every day so that you can gain confidence, and you need to gain confidence so that you can practice English language more often. Coming towards the paper of English Précis and Composition, we can say that broadly the syllabus of English Précis and Composition can be divided into three categories: grammar, vocabulary, and your reading skills. We also need to understand that English Précis and Composition is primarily a test of our reading skills, because there is another paper in CSS examination of English Essay in which the focus is upon evaluating the writing skills of the candidate. This paper is then divided into three major categories. The first one, which we are going to address in this video, because we are going to have a series of these videos, and I'll try to address several issues of CSS aspirants in different video sessions. So today we'll be focusing on the first category, which is grammar. Although grammar cannot be covered in a video, or a brief video of 20 or even 200 minutes won't be sufficient for that, but it's a kind of an overview that what you need to address and what is the paper pattern of CSS examinations. The questions related to grammar, which are explicitly related to grammar, they carry only 15 marks. These 15 marks are divided into three categories: punctuations, which carry 5 marks. The second group can be of sentence correction. These also carry 5 marks. And the third group is of narration or prepositions. These again carry 5 marks. You have to keep this in mind that grammatical categories are not only restricted to these when it is about English Précis and compositions paper, but these are the 3 explicit questions in the current paper pattern, and considering the previous half decade 2016 to 2020, we have had some questions related to these which are explicitly addressing these grammatical categories. Now, punctuations is one of the most significant areas in English language, but perhaps one of the most ignored areas. We also need to understand that if there are errors of punctuations, those who are adept at English language skills and those who are well aware of the norms and conventions of writing and reading, they often consider the errors of punctuation as a kind of an affront towards the reader. It is interesting why. I'll write a sentence here. What a beautiful scene. And again, what a beautiful scene. If I insert an exclamation mark here, it would be spoken as, what a beautiful scene. There is more of an expression in this sentence. There is a kind of an admiration or maybe an expression of wonder. But if I insert a question mark here and a full stop here, I am going to say, what a beautiful scene. We did not change even a word, but the entire meaning of the sentence changed because of the change in punctuations. So if there is a non-usage of punctuation, in the beginning we saw that both were quite similar, but with the usage of punctuations and different punctuations, we use 3 different terminal points here. It indicated a change in meaning, and in fact it also ensured clarity in communication. So by learning skills related to punctuations, you are not only targeting the 5 marks of English Précis and composition, you are also improving your English language expression and bringing more clarity to your communication, which is the key in any comparative examination, or I must say in any test of English language. Clarity must be ensured with the help of these. I'm going to take a few examples. Because of the paucity of time, we cannot take into consideration all the punctuation categories. But if we take an example of the usage of a comma, and I would also like to take 2 words which have also been creating confusion in the mind of several students. The word that and which. I've observed as a teacher and a student of English language that most of the writers, most of the student writers, do not have a sense of using these 2 words, that and which. It has been a kind of an arbitrary usage of these 2 words. But we need to understand that that is a restrictive pronoun or a restrictive relative pronoun. Which is a non-restrictive relative pronoun. For instance, if we take a sentence, John's cars that are leased are never kept clean. Another sentence, John's cars which are leased are never kept clean. In the first sentence, John's cars that are leased are never kept clean. The focus of attention is on a special subset. It means that there are few other cars which have not been leased by John, and those cars are kept clean, whereas those cars which are on lease, they are dirty. So it's an explicit demarcation that we are referring to a subset of categories. We do not need to use a comma here. But in the second sentence, John's cars, which are leased, are never kept clean. We need to insert a comma here and here as well. Because we are separating this relative clause, because without even this clause, the sentence would have communicated the meaning. John's cars are never kept clean. Which are leased was a kind of a non-essential or an additional information which was just to provide some extra information if the listener or the reader does not know. However, the meaning is clear even without which are leased. So if we are including that, we need to insert commas on both sides. So here you saw that with the usage of one relative pronoun, we do not have to use a comma, whereas with the introduction of another relative pronoun, the entire meaning changes, and the meaning can be communicated with clarity with the help of a comma. If you fail to use a comma here, or if we do not insert a comma at the appropriate place, the meaning might be communicated, but still the reader or the examiner would put a question mark on your grammatical skills. So the question of punctuations, which has 5 marks, it also has significance for your entire English language skills. You need to focus on that as well. And as there are several other categories of punctuations, we have 2 categories, major divisions when we refer to them. One is the terminal points. The other refer to the pausing points. In the terminal points, we have the full stop, the question mark, and the exclamation mark. Whereas in the pausing points, we include a comma, a semicolon, a colon, apostrophes, at times em dashes, and even the discussion on parentheses and the quotation marks. So it requires practice, which you need to address when you are trying to prepare for the paper of English Précis and Composition. This session ends here, and we are going to take another video session which would be related to vocabulary in English Précis and Composition. Thank you. See you.